Howdy, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Cowboys of the Osage podcast, brought to you by the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum, located in historic downtown Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Hey, it's old Cody over here, and as always, I have my co-host with me, Mr. Historian of everything and everybody, it seems like, Jimbo Snively. Hey, Jimbo, it's good to see you again. Who do we have today?
Hey, Cody boy, it's good to see you too, and it's just another great day in the Osage. And you know, Cody, we've always got the champions on here, and today we've got a four-time national champion cattle dog trainer. He's a four-time champion and three times reserve champion, so he knows what he's talking about. And I'm talking about Mr. Steve Knipmeyer, and hopefully he can fill us in on how to train a dog, you know, because I've had a lot of dogs, but they always train me, I think, more than I train them. So this should be an interesting show.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah. So, Steve, welcome to the Cowboys of the Osage podcast.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you, Steve. Hey, let's get a few things out of the way first. Before you started dog training, what was your profession?
Well, I always worked in town in oil and gas, but I always had cattle all my life. I grew up in Kansas and moved to Bartlesville in 1976 and bought land before I bought a house, I guess. And I've always run cattle. And the kids helped me before they graduated college. So
you didn't need dogs.
I didn't need dogs.
Yeah, sent the kids out there.
I didn't even know there was a dog world out there until about 12 years ago, I guess. I had trouble after the kids was gone. I was working by myself and had a horse and used four-wheelers a lot. But once in a while, I'd have a guy from town, from where I worked there. At that time, I was working for the city of Bartlesville in the engineering department and running about 200 head of cattle, stockers, every year. Sometimes I'd have one of the guys at work come out and help me. I had a couple of spots that it was hard to bring the cattle in by myself. So I'd have him come out and help me and to get them pinned. And then he said, well, you just need a dog. And I said, well, okay. He said, I think I know where there is one. I'll go pick it up. It was in the backyard of somebody's yard there in town. It was a border collie and heeler mix. And he went and got it, and he said he'd train it for me. But he didn't have much knowledge on that. He trained coon dogs, but it didn't quite go the same way as a coon dog.
Well, tell us about this National Cattle Dog Association. It formed about the time you got interested in the dogs?
It did. I got a registered border collie and kind of raised it up. And in 2012 was the first year that the National Cattle Association was formed and sanctioned trials all over the country. I mean, that's the way they started out. And you gather points. And then you go to finals, and you have a kind of a standing when you go to finals. It's like the rodeo. The more points you have, the I don't know what you want to say, but
the better you are.
The better, the more trials you've been to, the more experience you have, and you get a trophy for high point of the year. I got that several times. But the first year I went, I ended up winning the intermediate national champion, which was kind of strange because I was just starting out. That was my first year to to compete. So that was quite an accomplishment for me.
Do you own your own dogs, or do you take in dogs for other people? Or
I don't train for anybody else. I just train for myself. I've trained all my dogs. I did one dog. I thought he was going to be a tough dog to train, so I had another fella, Lyle East, put the first 30 days on him. But after that, I went ahead. I mean, he's the only one that I had someone else start.
What kind of breeding do you put on a real good dog? Do they use one type of dog, or is there several different types of dogs that you see at these trials?
Well, you see several types. Most prominent are border collies, which I have. That's what I've always used, is border collie. There's a couple other breeds that sometimes they use, but not very much.
Some of these, I've seen some pictures. They look like border collie, but they're kind of medium-haired dogs. Are those crossed with something else, or are those just straight border collies?
Border collies comes in a lot of different forms.
When I think of border collie, I think of longer hair, but
they're short hair. They're red and white, black and white, brown and white.
I wonder where they got that name, border collie. You ever know?
I really not sure.
Yeah.
Border collie was developed for the sheep herder, and then they bred in the tougher strains for the cattle, because they have to bite.
Right.
And cattle trials, cattle movement.
Yeah, probably don't see as many blue heelers around here on the back of the feed trucks as you do. Border collies as you do blue heelers. Do they just not work for the competition dogs?
Not very well. A heeler, they're for pushing cattle and driving cattle. They work good with the horse, just going through the pasture, pushing cattle here and there. A border collie, their natural instinct is to go around the cattle and bring them to you. And then you can train that for more specific movements. The border collie is just a lot easier to train and accomplish multiple things with cattle, rather than just driving them to the corral.
Right.
You can stay at the barn and send your dog, and they'll bring them to you, and that works really well.
Cody, when we used to rope, we'd turn our steers out down below like a 20-acre tract, and the old rough, rocky hill and brush and everything, and these dogs we had two of them, and they were kind of Australian Shepherd type dogs. But when they'd see us going out there to saddle the horses, they'd take off under the hill to get those cattle. And boy, they'd bring them on the run, sometimes too fast, but they'd bring them. Those cattle knew where to go, of course, and they'd have them pinned before we got our horses saddled. So they were a lot of help, but that was just natural, something they picked up, because they knew that we were going to go down there anyway to get them, and they just beat us to it,
Yep.
But so they can be a lot of help, but I didn't train them. They just did that on their own.
I had a good one time, Jimbo. We got it. It was a stray dog I found at Wesley Sims roping in Happy, Texas when I was a kid. Brought him home, named him Maynard, some sort of weird weenie dog thing on some mutt. I don't even know what it was. And I was trying to bulldog around that time. And every time I get down on a steer, old Maynard would really help me out and start getting a hold of that steer. And heck, they'd pick up their head and just run off with me.
Right.
And my mom got so mad at him, she went and dumped him out all the way across town. And by the time she got home from the grocery store and stuff, Maynard done beat her home. So, yeah, that's the extent of all my cattle dogs right there.
Right.
I did see a movie with my kids the other day, though. It was where this pig thought it was a sheepdog, and over there in England somewhere, and they allowed him to go in these cattle dog trials. Have you ever seen a pig at a sheepdog trial? Have you ever seen a pig at a cattle dog trial?
No.
I was reading on some of that stuff up in Cheyenne. They had a dog trial. in a competition, and somebody brought in like 200 heifers for that. Do you need that many cattle to do one, or what does it consist of?
If you got 50 entries, that's 150. If you use 3 calves for each entry, that's 150 head of cattle. And you have sometimes you have some crazy ones in there, and we usually cut those out. So, 175, 200 heads, what you need to start with.
Well, do they have to do a lot of different jobs at a competition, a dog, or is there just 1 or 2 things they have to do and do real well?
Well, in the competitions, it's not exactly like ranching. I mean, my dogs, I use them on the ranch all the time. I use them every day. There, you have, you got to go fetch 3 head of cattle and bring them usually through some panels, and then bring them in, circle them around, and you have a cross drive and a drive through panels or into a pen. It's always different, but you have obstacles you have to go through. It's a timed event, and you go through and you have to make the obstacles. So you have to get the obstacles to get the points, and the high point will win. But it depends on, it's a timed event as well. If several have the same points, then the fastest time wins. So that's how the trial usually goes.
I'm curious how you get a dog to that point. I mean, you just teach them to stay, sit, lay, or, I mean, you have to be able to control them first, I would think.
Yeah, well, I always start with voice commands. The standard commands is, a come by is clockwise around the cattle. Way to me is counterclockwise.
So do you do your arms too?
No.
Okay. I thought maybe they were watching you.
Yeah, I didn't know either. I was wondering.
No.
I thought maybe they watched them.
Right.
Why
Well, my
they said
dog's
the command.
deaf, so I do everything I do. I have to do.
No, you don't want to use your hands. You don't want them watching you.
Okay.
Dog has to watch the cattle, and they hear your commands. I usually start with voice commands, but I control all my dogs with the dog whistle. I can send them. I can push them back. I can pull them in. I can go either direction around them. I can place my dog anywhere I want
With a whistle.
around those cattle with the whistle.
That's kind of like those Labrador trials. I've seen those on TV, and they control those, like when they're going to look for something that they've hid, and they can control them and lead them right to that, whatever they hid in the grass, with a whistle. It's kind of funny.
But
One time I whistled at Maynard, and he sent a whole set of cows through a barbed wire fence.
I understand.
Yeah.
I've been through a few barbed wire fences in my day.
Every time we'd bring the roping steers back up the alley, Maynard really got in there and helped us and got right in front of them and tried to turn them right back the other way.
No.
But I think it made our horses stronger on bringing the cattle back down the alley when Maynard was around.
Right. Well, your dogs have to get in front and behind at times, right?
The border collies, they want to bring them to you, but you've got to drive cattle too. I mean, that's a big part of it, and that's a learned exercise for the border collie. They won't naturally drive away from you.
Really?
They'll always want to bring the cattle to you.
Yeah, because a lot of those shepherd-looking dogs we had as a kid, and they were kind of border collie look. They always wanted to go to the front, and that'd make my grandpa so mad, because they'd go in front, and he wanted them behind,
That's one of the big problems starting out. I mean, this friend of mine, he had a stick, and he was beating that dog for going around the cattle,
and that was just natural.
And that was what he was supposed to do.
Right, right.
That was natural, and then you use their natural ability, and then you feed off of that and get them to do what you want to do, and that's how you train a border collie. Is you just shape their natural ability.
Well, they're smart dogs for sure.
Steve, Did you come up with your own training method, or did you kind of watch some other guys and incorporate that, or were you just, lightning in a bottle and somehow you just took to it? I'm kind of wondering. When you're first getting into it.
I went to a few trials. I went to the Tulsa Fair. That's where I first saw basically the Border Collie working. And I watched that, I guess, for maybe 2 years. And then I went to one of the handlers there and said, I want a dog that I can do that at home. And I got a pup from that guy, and that's where it started. But I watched a few videos. Alvin Cope. I watched his video. I liked the way he trained, and I kind of shaped my training after that. And but I kind of beat to my own drum. A lot of people go to clinic after clinic learning stuff, but I watch the dog and they kind of tell me what they want to do, and I shape that to what I want. And that's my basic, the way I train a dog is just guide their natural ability, and that makes a lot stronger and a dog that works more natural. That's what I like.
That makes sense. How long would you think it takes? Of course, I know all dogs are different, but how much time would you spend on a dog a day, and then for how many days before you're ready to take him somewhere? Are we talking years?
Oh, I don't know. I don't do much with the dogs till they get to be about a year old. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to work them every day, I never work a dog for more than like 15 minutes on a training session. And if it's a good dog that's learning, you can go to trial after 60 days.
Really?
You may win or you may not, but it depends on the dog. I mean, it takes a lot longer than that for some dogs, and 30 days on some dogs they pick it up fast.
Yeah, where you're, working on the natural ability, like you said, rather than trying to teach them something that's not natural to them. I can see where that would speed things up a little bit.
It does. It may take, you go in little steps to get what you want. You can't go out there and make them do what you want the first day.
Right, sure.
Just, you watch what they're doing and lead them to what you want. That's what I basically do.
Male or female you like best?
Well, I suppose, my best dog is a male, my Pete dog. But I've been really successful with a lot of females. Usually a female works best, but
males are kind of hard-headed sometimes.
Hey, look at my whole staff. I only got one other guy working for me, Jimbo.
All right. You know, don't you?
Hey, I know the deal. I know the deal. How many dogs can you send out at one time to do some work?
As many as you want.
As many as you want, and they'll all listen to you or know where to get.
Well,
will they work with each other, or
they seem to kind of want a copycat. They'll probably. I don't have different whistles for different dogs. All of my dogs are on the same whistle. So if I send out a half a dozen dogs and I tell them to weigh to me, they're gonna go. All of them's gonna go that direction.
Is it one of those silent dog whistles?
No,
you can barely hear.
No, you can hear it.
Do most of the competitors use whistles, or do some of them just use their voice?
Some of them just use their voice. One of the best guys out there nowadays is. He hadn't learned to whistle yet. He probably will.
Yeah.
I went 3 years, competed, won a couple of national champions before I learned to whistle.
How far away are you from the dogs when they're working?
Well, it varies. You can send them out. Oh, my place there was about almost a half a mile.
But in the competition, how close?
In the competition, 300 yards is usually about as far as you're going to be away from the cattle where they set them out. And then usually if it's a small obstacle where you got to get them through a small gate, they'll put that up a little closer. You may only be 50 feet or 100 feet from them. But you're usually standing behind a line and all obstacles are out in the field. So you have to stand there and make your dog do all of the work. It's usually the way it goes.
You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see them use a harmonica. That'd be good for the crowd.
Well, yeah.
That might work.
Might work. I don't know. Might be something for you there, Steve.
Yeah.
Revolutionize the sport.
Yeah.
Everybody would be using a harmonica probably if Steve was using
Steve
one.
started winning too much.
There's some guys out there that can play a dog whistle just like the harmonica.
Huh.
I wonder if he's one
unreal.
of them.
Yeah, it's not me. It's not me.
If a cow breaks out of the herd, now will that dog go after it natural, or do you have to give it the whistle to tell it to?
It depends on the situation. If you just send a dog to bring the cattle and one of them breaks, he's gonna bring that calf back just automatically. That's part of the natural ability. Now,
Right.
some of these guys they won't let their dog do anything without them telling them, and that's where they take that natural ability out that I don't think is good.
Right. That's interesting. I think it's interesting that you don't want them looking at you. I just figured they'd be looking at you and you'd be telling them what to do, but I think that's interesting.
No, I mean, you could use hand signals if that was the case.
Yeah, sure.
But no, you don't want them looking at you. They've got to watch the cattle.
Yeah.
Because they're so alert and locked in on the cattle. Anything that breaks, they know you're going to give them the command to go get that calf.
Right.
And they're so ready that, well, sometimes they read my mind and want to do it before I command them, and I don't particularly like that.
Right. Right.
But, they usually know what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Do you ever use goats or sheep or anything to train with?
I have never owned a goat or a sheep in my life. I have gone. I like to use a sheep or a goat when I'm just starting to see whether whether they're ready to work or not. That way they don't get kicked or trampled or something that a calf could do to them.
Right. Huh. I guess some of these dogs probably get to be pretty high dollar, don't they?
They do, and they're getting more expensive all the time.
Well, it's just like the horse market.
Yeah.
What's a good dog cost if you're going to be competitive? Go for a world or a national championship.
I don't know. We've got guys out there that's paying $20,000-$25,000 for a dog. That you pretty well know it's going to work if you get that up in that price range.
I'm gonna have to say it's going to have to be more nowadays. $25,000 ain't going to get you a world champion dog, will it?
Well, I've never paid more than $1,500 for a dog myself.
Well,
I haven't either.
He's a trainer. He can do what everybody else can't. Do you sell your trained dogs, or do you keep them?
Oh, I've sold a few trained dogs, but not very many. I don't like selling a dog because you never know how they're going to use them. And I've sold a few, and they never work as good for somebody else as they did for me. And I don't like.
Well, then they
something.
show up at competition and they don't work, and they say, "Well, Steve trained that dog."
Yeah, and it doesn't feel very good to me. So I really don't like selling dogs. If I need a dog, I'll usually breed a female to my good male dog, and then I've got dogs for myself. It's basically what I do.
Are your dogs pets, or are they all business?
Pretty much all business, but
It doesn't hurt them to be a house dog or around kids and stuff, or does it?
I don't like that until after they're trained. After they're trained, then you can make a pet out of them, but don't make a pet out of them before, because then they just want to stand to your side and don't want to go work.
Do you put your good male dogs out for stud to breed other people's females, or vice versa?
I have a little bit, but I don't like pups, and he's not all that good of a breeder, really. I just don't like messing with it.
Cody, every time I think of border collies, I think of that old rodeo act when they used to strap monkeys on them. You remember that? You've seen those.
Oh yeah, that was
that was
Whiplash. That was Whiplash.
Is that who?
Yeah. The cowboy monkey.
Yeah.
They rode the border collie.
Yeah. That was funny.
Put the sheep in the little trailer out in the middle of the
they'd
arena.
have sheep, and that monkey'd hang on, and that's some funny stuff.
Have you thought about getting into that? Putting a monkey on one of your collies?
No, I don't know.
You'd have to train the monkey.
Have you seen that act though,
Oh
Steve?
yeah, I have. It's a cool.
Yeah, everybody
cool
needs to
deal.
look it up on YouTube. I believe it's Whiplash, the cowboy monkey, and there should be plenty of YouTube videos out there on him.
Yeah.
That's some funny stuff.
I saw Whiplash one time. There's a whole trailer full of them back there that the clown had, and that booger had teeth about that long. I saw one time. I was going to reach in and pet him, and he didn't want nothing to do with it.
I bet it'd be better to pet him than that monkey, though.
That was the monkey.
Oh, that's what
Whiplash.
Whiplash was the monkey. Okay, I was thinking of the dog. Oh no, you wouldn't want to pet a monkey.
No, he was going to bite my finger off. I was pretty sure of it.
Yeah, and eat it right in front of you.
Yeah, probably. Steve, do you do clinics or anything like that?
Oh, I've helped in a few clinics, but no, I don't. I kind of just, I'm pretty low key. I don't really pattern my training after anybody.
Which makes sense. You should do some clinics to teach the way you do it. Wouldn't have as many national championships, though.
Oh, well, I'm pretty low key, and I don't care for speaking in front of people, so that's just who I am.
Yes, sir. No informational videos either?
Nope, not for me.
No books?
No books.
No magazine articles where you let some secrets out that you've done in the past?
There's some stuff on Google where you can read where, Bartlesville newspaper and that kind of stuff, where they talk about him.
You think, the biggest cattle dog trainer in the world, they'd have a sign coming into Bartlesville for him. 4-time national champ, 3-time runner-up.
You'd think so.
Home of. Well, we're sure proud of him around here, that's for sure.
Where all do you have to go for these competitions? I know they had one in Cheyenne, up in that country.
That's the national finals, where we've had the national finals for several years.
Is it in the arena, or is it outside of town in a pasture somewhere?
Oh, it's in a fair at Cheyenne. It's at a fairgrounds, and then we fenced off like a 20-acre patch there on their property, and that's where we hold it. It's in the field. Yeah, it's a big open area. It used to be at Steamboat Springs, at a ranch outside of Steamboat Springs, which was really a pretty area and a fun venue. But and this year it's going to be down by Durant, Texas.
The NRS Ranch.
Decatur.
Decatur.
Decatur, Texas. Yeah, National Roper Supply Ranch. It's a real nice place. You're going to enjoy it down there.
Yeah. That's the first year we're gonna have it there this year.
Where do they have the other competitions? It's just scattered all over the country?
Oh, all over the country. I've competed a lot in Wyoming and Nebraska, Tennessee.
Do you have those fancy dog boxes, or they just ride up front with you?
No, I've got a dog trailer, a 6-hole dog trailer I pull, and then if that's just a close, fast trial, why I'll use that. We've got a fifth-wheel camper. It's got a garage in the back, and I put kennels in there, and that's how we travel most of the time to the further away trials. So.
Do you have anything rode on the side of your trailer, like world champion dog trainer or anything?
Nope.
What about sponsorships? Do you got any dog food companies or wormers or anything?
Nope, I haven't pursued that. I felt like I didn't deserve to win most of the time, so I didn't have any anticipation of needing a sponsor or anything.
Have you ever Have you ever showed up at a competition, your dog just didn't work worth a crap? You just almost embarrassed and you just load him up and go home?
No.
I mean, that's how ropers do sometimes.
Yeah, the sport of rodeo is very humbling sport sometimes.
That usually happens to me, not my dogs. My dogs always work.
Yeah, well, you can blame it on your dogs, though.
Well, most people do, but I don't. It's usually me when we have a problem.
Ropers blame it on their horse or the draw or something, you know.
Sun in their eye, dirt clod got in their face. I don't even know. Header mishandled him.
Your wife didn't
Chute man didn't open when he nodded right.
Your wife didn't have your lucky shirt ready.
That's right. It's mainly that. She don't. Do you got a lucky shirt?
Oh, I had a peach shirt that was pretty lucky.
I had one time. I didn't wash it because I thought the luck was in the dirt, I guess.
Right.
It got pretty. It stood up on its own in the corner by the time I retired that thing.
I had a lucky pearl snap short sleeve shirt that I won several ropings on with, and I don't even know where it's at now. I couldn't wear it anyway to be too tight, but.
Do you got a little deal you do before a contest that's, it's just a routine you have to do every time you spit to the left or take a deep breath? Or what do you do before a contest? Do you just work with your dog? Do you visualize what you guys are fixing to do?
No.
What's the best in the world do to prepare himself on the day of a contest right before it?
Well, I'm a little different than most, probably. On that deal, I just... They kind of, I don't know whether you really say visualize, but I just say this just another practice out on the ranch, and that keeps me from getting all hyped up from competing or whatever. I just go out there and it's me and my dog, and I don't worry about anything else.
What about your dog? Does he get more hyped up at a competition? Or can you tell?
No, not unless I do.
Yeah, he can feed off of you, though.
And I keep myself low.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they get revved up and they don't understand why their dog don't work at a trial like it does at home. It's not the dog. It's the handler that gets all revved up. They don't turn their body the same way. They do some little something different.
That the dog picks up on.
They don't even know it, but the dog picks up on it.
Right. They say a horse can feel your heartbeat,
I believe it because, horses, when you got your money up, it's a little bit different. At the rodeo, they can feel you. You're a little more charged up.
Right.
But if you ever notice, the biggest winners in rodeo, they're about like this man right here.
Right.
They're not all charged up.
I know it.
They already know they're probably going to do pretty good. Most of them.
Yeah.
That's really something to take away from that. Right there, Jimbo.
Right, absolutely.
No matter what sport you're in.
I love watching golf or any sport just to see how people handle pressure because it's not easy to do, and the people that can really handle it are the ones that do most of the winning. And I really pay attention to that on any sport.
Yeah, that's really something. What kind of advice would you have, Steve, for someone just wanting to get in the dog business? Never done it before? Saw it somewhere, they decide they want to do it.
Get you a good border collie and a good line of breeding and a lot of patience and just work with your dog.
And not overdo it. Like he said, about 15 minutes a day is probably all you need to fool with the dog, right?
Yeah. If you're really trying to put commands and stuff on any more than 15 minutes a day, and you're kind of spitting in the wind.
Yeah.
You said you've used goats before or some sheep.
I have.
I had a goat growing up. Maynard didn't bark at that goat any. They were buddies. They ran around together, that dog Maynard and the goat. Can you believe that?
Yeah. Your dog and goat.
The goat would get up on top of the pickup and scratch it all up, and Maynard would just encourage him. Say, good job, goat. And then they'd run around and find something else to tear up.
Well,
can you believe that?
I always had friends that had goats or sheep. I never had to put up with them that long. I just take my dog, let him chew on them for a little bit, and when they really took after them, why then I'd put them on cattle and actually do some training.
I came home one night and one of our neighbors had goats, and the goat was up in the windowsill. We had this big picture window, high dollar window that hadn't been in very long, and and it had these windowsills out in front of it, and the goat was up in the windowsill, and our dog was keeping it bayed right there. And it's a wonder it hadn't broke the window or tried to jump in, And I don't know how long it'd been that way, but when I got home, that my dog had that goat up in the window. Had called the neighbor. You remember that, Leslie?
How many dogs do you keep around at a time, Steve?
Oh, I try to keep it 4 or 5, maybe 6. If I have some pups, I've got 2 pups right now that I've got 5 dogs. I've got 3 finished open dogs that can go to any trial anywhere and have a chance of winning. They may not win.
Mm-hmm. But you feel good. You like your chances.
Yeah, we've got as good a chance as anybody else to win.
Do all the competitors get along good, or is it kind of cutthroat, or?
It's a big family, really.
Is it?
I mean, it's really a nice. Once in a while, someone will get upset if they think a bad call was given them or something, but most cases, everybody's really laid back, and it's just a fun.
Yeah, that's another thing.
People.
How many judges do you have, and how do you pick the judges?
Well, a lot of handlers can be a judge as well as, they know the rules. We don't have a lot of big-time people that just judge. They're usually handlers that gets roped into judging a trial or something like that.
Yeah. Trying to get a mental picture of these field trials. Like I say, I've seen those sheep trials on TV or Facebook or something, but I've never seen one of these cattle competitions. And we'll have to take one in sometime, Cody.
Do they use a different set of cattle for each guy, or
Yes.
so they're fresh every time?
Well, if they're fresh, they need to all be fresh.
Yes.
You don't want, one, a set of calves that's been run through 3 times with calves that has never been through. We'll, usually the open will get a fresh set of 3 calves. Everybody in the open will get a fresh set of calves. Now, the second day, usually you use the same cattle. They've been through once or twice, maybe with some other classes, but they will have known, are more familiar and work better usually the second day because they've been handled in that arena or in the field or whatever. It's a matter of conditioning your cattle, really. If you do it right the first day, then they're really good to handle the second day.
Do they usually use yearlings or?
400 to 600 pound steers or heifers is usually what we use.
If there's a renegade in there that first day, do they keep him in there for the second day because someone had to run in the first day?
Usually they'll cut them out.
They'll cut them out.
If they're
try to keep the herd even.
Nasty. Try to keep the competition is more even for everybody. You don't want a bad calf that you just can't work.
Do they mix heifers and steers together, or will it usually be all steers or all heifers?
Sometimes, usually they're all steers or all heifers.
Yep. So, heifers get kind of silly.
Try not to have any bulling on the heifer side.
Yeah, if you ever need any dogs to go in there and wild them up, I got a couple more Maynards coming on at my house. Patches and Hank, they'll go in there and they'll stir the herd up real good for you guys to keep them nice and even there.
Kind of like shuffling the deck.
Hey, Steve, what's the very first command you teach a dog? If I was gonna just start a dog today, I found me one. What's the first command that you would teach one right then? Let's give them a little something so they can at least know the first command the best in the world would teach his dog right then when they started training.
On cattle, a down is really important. I like to have control of the situation. And if you can down your dog, you can stop whatever's happening. I mean, if they're in there chewing and biting, and you can't stop them, you've got a big problem. Probably a down. You don't want to overdo that. You don't want to overdo anything. You've got to have a mix of things going on. But to get control of the situation, usually I'll put a down on when I'm first starting to train, probably the first thing.
So you just, in a down, just when you say down, they stop and they lay down right there wherever they're at.
Yep. My dogs, if they're running, their legs just stop and they slide to a stop.
Do you have a whistle command for down, or do you have to do that? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's hard to imagine all them different whistle sounds, and the dog picks up on all the different ones.
That's right.
They really hone in on it. It's amazing. It takes a while to give a voice command, where a whistle is just a quick. You just got a better response from a whistle usually than voice commands.
Crazy.
Well, we know he's one of the best, Jimbo, because he hadn't won but one. He's won 4 of them. So
and 3 reserves.
3 reserves. That's a pretty big deal in just 12 years in the business.
Absolutely. So
everything he has to say, it's a pretty important thing if you're listening and want to know a little more about the dogs. It seems like, it's just an overlooked tool, really, when I think about it. If I was to get all the ranchers, tools they use on a daily basis, I'd have a feed truck in here and a fence stretcher and a horse. And, I probably wouldn't have thought about a working dog right off the bat to include in the list of essentials for any cowboy or rancher, but I don't see why not.
Well,
especially if your kids are grown.
Right, for sure. Yeah, they can be a lot of help. A good dog is a lot of help, and a bad dog not much. But, but a good one's a lot of help.
No, they say so many steps, and so they're. Well, I mean, the saying is that a good dog's worth 3 horses.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases.
Some of these guys just want one on the back of their feed truck, though, to look good.
It does look good. I like a good dog on the back of a feed truck.
Yeah, that'll stay, and not jump off. And everything. And ride when you get going too fast, go around the corner, they can hang on pretty good.
Maynard, he probably would have been good on the back of a feed truck.
Yeah, you couldn't have lost him.
You couldn't have shook him.
No.
He'd have stayed right there. He'd have ran the cattle off when he tried to count them when you got done feeding them.
Yeah. He was a better dog than what your mom gave him credit for.
Maybe. I liked him all right. Can't help but like old Maynard. Did you ever have a dog like Maynard that was just, oh my Lord. And
well, I wouldn't even let the kids have a dog when I was younger, because I didn't like it. My dad, he trained me, I guess. When we went to work cattle, he said, "Make sure you keep that dog out of here."
Oh, you got to have a dog, good or bad. You just got to have a dog.
Yeah, there's something wrong with you if you don't love a good dog.
Yeah.
Well, Jimbo, man, this has been a good one. You
Absolutely.
Got anything else for Steve?
Well, thank him for coming over for sure, but I hope everybody learned something, today. And I know I'm going to try some of that stuff. The only problem is my dog's deaf, so the whistle doesn't do me any good. But
you'll have to use hand command.
Yeah, I know. But I think it's just really interesting. I just love dogs, and they can be so much help, a good one. So you might as well have a good one. So you might as well get, and there's so many videos out there on YouTube and stuff now that you can bring up and get some ideas on. I was watching one just a day or two ago on, like you were saying, keep them down. And the guy used a big old rake, like one of those plastic leaf rakes, and he'd hold it up in the air just for that dog to see, And he'd hold it and say down, and that dog just, it got him to laying down quicker, than it would if he just did that, and stuff. And just, there's a lot of information out there. So you might as well have a good dog if you're going to feed one.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. One that can earn his feed right back.
Right.
That'd be good. Well, Steve, thank you for coming in. Do you have anything else you want to add for anything, or before we let you go?
I think I'm good.
All right. Well, everybody, you need to get on that instructional video or something. Writing a book, the best in the world. All that can't die in your head now. everyone else needs to know how to be as successful as you are.
Well, it's just common sense.
If Cody had had that back in the day, Maynard would have been a lot better dog.
I'm fixing to go start training old Hank in patches, and who knows what's liable to be in store for us.
Sky's the limit.
The sky's the limit.
Yep.
But I'm afraid they're going to turn out 2 Maynards. So, well, everybody, this has been a good one. We'll see you next week right here on the Cowboys of the Osage podcast. Thanks again for coming, Steve.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you.